Hi everyone. So today we are going to do the experiment of class 11. These four experiments are the first one in your 11th class, but you all should be aware of it. Either if you're from 11th class or 12th or maybe from higher classes. So you all should be aware of these four basic experiment because while you will be doing the experiment of your 11th class or 12th class, you will be requiring sometime a U-shaped tube, delivery tube you will be requiring. So generally a lab assistant make them for you and they provide you with that, but I think as you are the one who is going to perform all the experiment, if you're studying chemistry you should be aware of each and everything and you should be aware how to make your own YouTube or the delivery tube so that you can use them later. First you should be aware how to make these also, because these are the basic laboratory technique which each and every one of you should be aware. So now let's get started with the first one, which is the cutting of the glass tube. Now, the tube which we use here is made up of soda. So this is a soda glass which we use here. Now this should be of appropriate length, because if you will be cutting it or you will be bending it or you will be drawing a jet out of it, so first requirement for all these things up to 3, the experiment number 1, 2 and 3. Okay, I'll number them. So the first requirement for all the 3 is that you should have this glass tube of appropriate length. And the one thing which you all should be aware is that which glass tube which we are using a soda glass tube. Okay, there can be another one, but it has a very high temperature, high melting point, so we don't use it. Okay, so it is going to melt. If we talk about the soda glass tube, it is going to melt at around 300 to 400 degrees Celsius temperature. But if we talk about the silicate one, like the another one is borosilicate glass. So this can also be used, but you know why we don't use it? Because it has a very higher temperature, which is approximately 750 to 800 degrees Celsius. So we don't use this one. So we use the soda glass tube. Okay, so this is the glass tube which we are going to use here. So now let's get started with the first experiment, which is about the cutting of the glass tube. Now, see, the first requirement here is that you should have a burner. Okay, we'll be having a burner, and this is the glass tube which we are using. Now take a marker and mark a line here from where you need to cut this glass tube. Okay, and after marking the line here, now what you have to do while you will be heating this glass rod, just make sure you rotate it also. Don't heat at a constant place, because we don't require a lot of heating here. We just need to give it an appropriate temperature so that it can get softened and we can cut it with the help of our hand. Okay, so just provide it with the heat and also make sure that you're rotating it appropriately. So you will be rotating it from the sides. Make sure that you're rotating it, and then you are heating it around this mark. And then what you're going to do is, after heating it, just turn off the burner. Now we don't require it. And now this will be cutted from here by the help of a scratch mark here, which will be done by the thing which is used here is a triangular cutter. Okay, a triangular cutter will be used, which is used for the cutting here, which is also called as a triangular file. Okay, it is also called as triangular file. So by the help of that triangular file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scratch it on this side. Now again, move it on the other side also. Again, we are going to scratch it by using that triangular cutter or the file. After that, now what you're going to do is, by using your hand, apply a little pressure from this side and this side. A little pressure is required, not too much of force is required. Okay, so what you will notice is you will get it into two half. Now these two halves will not be a regular surface on this side and on this side. Why? Because you have cut it by using your hand and a file. Okay, so now what you are going to do again is, again bring the burner and from the irregular surface, again give it a little heat on this side, just a little heat, and then just tap it over the asbestos sheet. Now what is an asbestos sheet? If you don't have the asbestos sheet, generally in the labs we see that asbestos sheet is not there. It is made of like this is a wire gauge. This also you can use. So it has a round covering of asbestos also, that also you can use. So what you can do is just tap this irregular surface. After heating this irregular surface, what you will just have to dab it on this. So when you will dab it on this, it will become a proper round and it will be now a smooth surface. Okay, so this is what we are going to use. So I'll write it here. This is the asbestos sheet. Okay, this can be used. And this is all about the cutting of the glass tube or the glass rod. Now we'll be moving to the second part. I hope I'm clear up till here. So the next part is the bending of a glass rod. So now we'll be talking about that. I hope this is clear to everyone. And still, if you find you have any doubt, you can write it in the comment box. I will see them and I will try to answer each and every question. Okay, now bending of glass rod. Again, we will be having one glass rod. Make sure you have it of appropriate length. It should not be too small, because if you will have it too small, you will not be able to use that. If it will be bent now, you will not be able to use it some. Because we want to use it, we will be having it of appropriate length. Now, again, see, we are having the burner. Now, this time we don't require any kind of mark because we don't have to cut it now. We just have to bend it, right? So let's say you're heating it from this surface, just around the surface, because you need to make a round kind of shape this side. You have to bend it, okay? So when you will heat it, this part will become a little soft. So when this part will become a little soft, you will notice, because you will be holding it from here and here. So you will notice that slightly it is trying to bend either inward or outward. So at that particular point of time, you can mold it according to your requirement. So let's say you want to give it a this kind of shape. Okay. So you can mold it and you can give it this kind of shape, and then you can use it. Okay, so this is how the bending of a glass rod can be done. Again, same glass rod is used, which is a soda glass tube. I hope it is clear. Now we'll be talking about the third part, which is a drawing out of a glass jet. Now, how to make a jet out of the glass tube, that is what we are going to talk the next. I think some of you might have guessed with the name itself that we are going to form a jet. Jet means a hole, right? So this is a tube which we are having. So now what we are going to do is we are going to cut the surface, not, I think cutting will not be an appropriate word here, because we will be heating it and we will be stretching it from both the ends. We'll be stretching it from both the ends. That means I'll be stretching it from this side and also from this side. And I'll be providing it with the heat also. Okay. I'll be providing it with the heat, not burn. I'll be providing it with the heat. Okay. Now, what next I have to do is I will be stretching it from this side and from this side, and I'll be providing it with the heat. So what is going to happen is when you will pull it this side and you're heating, you will notice that the shape will bend like this. And here also the shape will bend like this. So you will get the shape something like this. Just give me a second. This kind of shape is what you are going to get, which is nothing but a dropper. It is working like a dropper now. Okay, so this is how you can make your own dropper. Okay, just have the glass rod, just pull it from both the ends by giving appropriate amount of heat. Okay, when you will provide it with a little amount of heat, slowly you will notice when you're stretching it outward, the surface is also moving apart, and you can cut it. And you can, again, if you want to make it smooth, or let's say, sometime I have seen that student get a shape which is like almost closed from hair. So don't worry with that. If you have a condition like this, what you can just do is just, again, using the triangular file which you're having, just cut this part, and then you will notice a small hole here. So then you can use it as a dropper. Okay, so that is not something which you have done wrong. Generally it happens because it is a glass tube, so it can sometime melts more and sometime it can melt. Yes, so you should be aware of, yes, how to go to the appropriate result. Okay, so you can just cut this part and then it will start working as a dropper. I hope it is clear to you all. Now the next is boring of a cork. This is the last part. Just give me a second. Okay, now you all know, so this is what is the shape of a cork. So this is the cork. Now, generally you might have seen in your lab, so you have seen that these are what the corks look like, right? But sometime in some experiment you require a cork which has a hole here and also air, so that you can place your thermometer or maybe any other tube you want to place. So we want a hole in the cork. So that is what is boring of a cork. Boring means to create a hole, right? Boring means to create a hole. So boring of a cork means we are going to place something here like thermometer. So we have to bore the cork. Okay, so that is boring of a cork. Now, how can we do that? And even before performing this experiment, I would like to tell you all one thing. Just make sure that you first dip this cork in water for some time so that it can become a little soft. Otherwise, you will notice that it will break when you're trying to bore into this cork. Okay, so make sure that you all first dip it into the water, and sometimes you can also use the glycerin, but I think water will also do good. So what all are the requirement here? We are just requiring a cork, and you might have seen the cork borers are of different size, because sometimes we have to fit a thermometer in this, sometimes we have to just put a glass tube through it. So the boring thing which we'll be requiring here is also of different size. Let's say this is the cork, and this time I require a little bigger hole. Okay, so that I can place the let's say some glass tube I have to place here. So sometime I want the cork hole to be a little bigger, and sometime I want it to be a little smaller. Okay, so we have a bore of different size according to our requirement, so we can use it. Okay, now always make sure, like if I have to place a thermometer in this, so the borer which we are going to use to make a hole in this cork should be a little of a little smaller diameter than the thermometer, because otherwise the thermometer will not be placed properly in position. So always make sure, you should be first aware that why are you doing this boring, what you have to put through it. By knowing that, you can make the hole of a little smaller diameter than the requirement, so that things can be properly fixed in the holes. I hope it is clear to you all. Now, precaution, what you all have to take, just I've just told you all that make sure that you first place this cork into the water for some time, and either you can use the glycerin also. Don't press the cork too hard, and don't just insert the borer from the one end. Just bore it up till here from one side, and then from the other side try to bore, so that there is no mess happening with this. Cork is not going to break, and because at this time you require a lot of force also, so you can also harm yourself. So it's better that you first move from the upper side up till here, and then from the downer side you can again make the bore. Okay, marking should be done on both the sides of the cork, that where you want to make the bore. Okay, like I've already told you, from both the ends you can do this, because it will be better if you perform the first from the first side and then from the another side. Okay, so this is it. Now I'll be uploading one more video on this, in which I'll be asking you all few questions, and those questions will be helpful for you all in your Viva. So this is all for the basic techniques which we use. In the next upcoming video, I'll be coming with the characteristic and purification of the chemical substances. That means if you're having organic compound which is in solid state, how are you going to determine its melting point? So this is the next experiment which I'll be coming up with. So please make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for upcoming videos. Till then, take care. Bye bye, all of you.